Hi, good morning to everyone. So in this class, I will explain one more application corresponding to beats. That is tonometer. Tonometer, not a sonometer. Tonometer means it consists of X number of tuning forks which are arranged on a horizontal bench such that number of beats produced in 1 second is delta n between two successive tuning forks. Right? There are so many number of tuning forks are arranged simultaneously on a horizontal bench. Number of tuning forks is equivalent to X. Also it is given, suppose if these two tuning forks are sounded together, number of beats produced per second is equal to delta n. Between second one and third one is also equal to delta n. Third one and fourth one is also equal to delta n. That means number of beats produced between two successive forks is equal to delta n. That is the given value. In such a way, all the forks are arranged on a horizontal bench. This device is known as the tonometer. Let the frequency of the first one is equal to n1, second one n2, third one n3, and so on for last one nx. But there is a case 1. That means if all the tuning forks are arranged with increasing order of frequencies, increasing order means n2 greater than n1, n3 greater than n2, n4 greater than n3, and so on. n2 greater than n1 means by how much amount? Delta n. Am I right? Because it is given delta n be the number of beats produced between two successive forks. Delta n be the difference in frequency between two forks. First fork frequency n1 equal to n. Second fork frequency n2 is equal to n1 plus delta n. Third fork frequency n3 is equal to n2 plus delta n. Fourth one frequency n4 is equal to n3 plus delta n, and so on. Say here, let the frequency of the first fork n1 is equal to, say it is n. And frequency of the second fork n2 is equal to n plus delta n. Frequency of the third fork n3 is equal to n2 plus delta n, but n2 is equal to n plus delta n plus delta n. That means n plus 2 delta n. For third fork n3 is equal to n plus 2 delta n. Similarly for the last fork nx is equal to n plus x minus 1 into delta n. Here n3 2, n4 3 delta n, n5 4 delta n, and so on. Nx is equal to x minus 1 delta n. So therefore frequency of the last fork nx is equal to n plus x minus 1 into delta n. And again case 2, suppose if all the forks are arranged on the tonometer bench such that the forks are arranged with decreasing order of frequency. Decreasing order of frequency means n1 less than n2, n2 less than n3, n3 less than n4, and so on. By what amount? Delta n. For example, let the first fork frequency n1 equal to n. Next, second fork frequency n2 is equal to n minus delta n, because n2 must be less than n1. n3 is equal to n minus 2 delta n. Similarly for the last fork, nx is equal to n minus of x minus 1 into delta n. So these are very two important cases. Right? This is one of the most important application or the most important subtopic in waves, which is called as the Doppler effect. Doppler effect defines when there is a relative motion between the source and observer. Suppose this is the source and this is the observer. Source means just like it is taken as a train, and also observer who is standing on a platform. This is the position of the platform. Suppose if the observer on the platform who is at rest means velocity of the observer v0 is equal to 0, and train is approaching towards the platform with a velocity vs. It is the source because it produces the sound. So the train is moving towards the stationary observer and makes a sound. Therefore here what happened the frequency of the sound heard by the observer? When the source of sound approaching towards the observer, then the observer hears increase in frequency of the sound. Increase in frequency, that means intensity will be increases. Intensity also directly proportional to n square. That's why the apparent frequency of the sound received by the observer will be increases. In the same way, let the source is receding away from the observer. Source is receding away from the observer or away from the platform. The observer hears a decrease in frequency gradually. In the same sense, let the source is at rest. Maybe observer is moving towards the stationary source. In that situation also, the observer hears a sound of increase in frequency. Or if the observer is moving away from the stationary source, let the observer can hear a sound of decrease in frequency. అలా కాకుండా suppose if the source and observer both are at rest and the source of sound produces a sound, this sound can heard by the observer with the same frequency. That means there is no change in frequency in this case. So from these three examples we conclude that when there is a relative motion between source and observer, when there is a relative motion means keeping the observer at rest, sources may be moving towards the observer or away from the observer. Or source is at rest, the observer is moving towards the source or observer is moving away from the source. In these two cases only the observer can hear a change in frequency of sound. If both are at rest, the change in frequency of sound is equivalent to 0. Therefore, this phenomenon is completely understood or observed by the scientist Doppler, and he made one statement for the apparent frequency of the sound heard by the observer. What is that? When there is a relative motion between the source and observer, then only the observer can hear an apparent frequency of sound. That is the statement for Doppler effect. Are you understand? That means the apparent change in frequency of sound heard by the observer due to relative motion between source and observer is known as the Doppler effect. Now, suppose here let V is equal to velocity of sound in air medium. V is equal to velocity of sound in air medium. V naught is equal to velocity of the observer. Vs is equal to velocity of the source. N is equal to frequency of the sound emitted from the source. Next one, N dash is equal to apparent frequency of sound received by the observer. Let us derive the formula for apparent frequency of the sound received by the observer in terms of V, V0, Vs and N. Okay na? So let us derive the formula corresponding to apparent frequency, which is also called as the theory. Say here, let this is the position of the source and this is the position of the observer. Initially both are taken at rest. The source of sound can produce the waves so that one wave can reach in the observer like this. One wave means length from S to O is equal to one wave kabatti the total length of the wave is known as the wavelength, which is equal to lambda. Let the sound is going from S to O with a velocity V, where V is equal to velocity of the sound. keeping the observer is at rest. Observer is at rest, and let the source is approaching towards the observer. Source is approaching towards the observer. So in a time of t seconds, let the source is moving from S to S dash. Source is traveling from S to S dash with a velocity Vs, where Vs is equal to velocity of the source. So that from S to S dash, the time taken by the source is capital T seconds, where capital T is equal to, capital T is known as the time period. Is it right? When the first wave coming from S can reaches the observer O. In what time? This is the complete wave, means time taken for a complete wave is equal to capital T, which is called as the time period. In the same time, the source is also moving from S to S dash, because velocity of sound is more than the velocity of the source. Because the source is moving from S to S dash. Now the distance traveled by the source in this time is given by S dash. Distance is equal to velocity into time, where velocity of the source is equal to Vs into capital T. That is also equal to Vs by capital T is also equal to 1 by n, reciprocal of frequency. So S dash, distance traveled by the source during this time interval, is given by S dash is equal to value. In the same time, the distance traveled by the sound is equal to S to O. So distance traveled by the sound is equivalent to, which is equivalent to lambda. It is also equal to V into T, or this is equal to V by lambda. V equal to n lambda formula, which lambda equal to V by n. It is equation 2. Now, the distance from S dash O is equal to S dash O. S dash దగ్గరికి వచ్చిన తర్వాత, in this situation also the sound or the source can produce the second wave. Therefore, the second wave can also reaches the source, reaches the observer like this. This is the second wave. Now, therefore, S dash is equal to Vs by n. So is equal to V by n. Therefore, from the diagram, S dash O is equal SO minus SS dash, where S dash O is equivalent to, it is also called as the apparent wavelength. This apparent wavelength is represented by lambda dash. Lambda dash is equal to SO. SO means V by n minus SS dash is equal to Vs by n. So that is equal V minus Vs by n. This is the formula for apparent wavelength. It is equation 3. So when it is true, suppose if the observer is at rest, only the source is moving towards the observer in a time of capital T seconds. The apparent wavelength is given by lambda dash is equal to V minus Vs by n. But if the observer is also moving along the same direction with a velocity V naught, observer is also moving with the same velocity, in the same direction with a velocity V naught. What is the relative velocity of the sound with respect to observer? Relative velocity of the sound is equivalent to V minus V naught. Therefore, relative velocity of sound with respect to observer is given by V minus V naught. Relative velocity is also equal to, velocity is equivalent to relative velocity of the sound. It is also wave. It is also equal to V equal to n lambda. Here, relative velocity means apparent wavelength lambda dash into apparent frequency n dash. V minus V naught is equal to lambda dash into n dash. Lambda dash is the apparent wavelength. N dash is the apparent frequency. Where lambda dash is equal to, we can prove it as V minus Vs by n into n dash. So from this relation, n dash is equal to V minus V naught by V minus Vs into n. This is the formula for apparent frequency. N dash is equal to V minus V naught by V minus Vs into n. Here, V minus V naught is relative velocity of the sound with respect to observer. V minus Vs means relative velocity of the source with respect to observer. Therefore, n dash can be written as relative velocity of sound with respect to observer by relative velocity of sound with respect to source into n. It is general formula for apparent frequency of the sound received by the observer. But this derivation, it is not correct in the sense of IPE point of view. So the derivation for the apparent frequency in the sense of IPE point of view, that can be explained in class on the blackboard. But keeping the frequency n dash is equal to V minus V naught by V minus Vs into n, and by solving the objective problems there is no need of derivation part here. N dash is equal to V minus V naught by V minus Vs into n. Now here, what are the limitations of Doppler effect? Limitations means when the Doppler effect is not applicable. The first one, suppose if the source and observer are at rest, both are at rest, means V naught is equal to 0 and also Vs is equal to 0. Therefore, n dash is equal to n. N dash is equal to n means the apparent frequency is equal to actual frequency. There is no change in apparent frequency. That means there is no Doppler effect. Second one, suppose if the source and observer are moving perpendicular to each other. Perpendicular to each other means, suppose this is the observer, let the source is moving like this, or the source is at rest, observer is moving like this. Source or observer, they are moving perpendicular to the line joining source and observer. In this situation, there is no Doppler effect, means n dash is equal to n. Third one, suppose if the observer lies inside the source. Observer lies inside the source means, let the observer is standing inside a moving train. Let the observer is standing inside a moving bus. Observer is standing inside a moving car. In that situation, the person inside the vehicle doesn't heard apparent frequency which is equivalent to real frequency. That means n dash is equal to n. In that situation also Doppler effect is not applicable. Next, fourth one, if the velocity of the observer and velocity of the source are far greater than velocity of sound, in this situation also there is no Doppler effect. So these four are called as the limitations of Doppler effect. What is the first one? First one, the source and observer are at rest. Next, the source and observer are moving perpendicular to each other. Third one, if the observer lies inside the source. And fourth one, velocity of the observer and source are far greater than velocity of sound. In these four situations, Doppler effect is not applicable. So these four are called as the limitations of Doppler effect. Next one, here while solving the different cases, let us know some sign conventions. Sign convention. Sign convention means which one is taken as positive and which one is taken as negative. Here V0 to Vs, and when these are taken as positive and when these are taken as negative. So first one is, always it is the source and this is the observer. This is the line joining the source and observer. The line joining the source and observer. Taking the velocity of the sound is always going from S to O. Velocity of the sound is always taken from S to O. Always. In any case, velocity of the sound is always taken from source to observer. Second one, suppose if the velocity of the source and velocity of the observer, velocity of the source and velocity of the observer, these two are taken as positive when source and observer are moving along the direction of sound. Along the direction of sound, Vs is positive and V0 is also positive. And otherwise, if Vs is equal to negative as well as V0 is equal to negative when source and observer are moving opposite to velocity of sound. Suppose here this is Vs and this is V naught. Both Vs and V naught are moving along the same line along the direction of V kabatti both will taken as positive. But this is the direction of velocity of the sound. Suppose if the source is moving like this and the observer is moving like this, both will opposite to velocity of sound. In that situation, Vs and V naught are taken as negative. Compulsory, while doing the problems, these three sign conventions must be followed. First one enti, sound velocity is taken always from source to observer. Second one, velocity of the source and observer are taken as positive when both are moving along the direction of velocity of sound. When both are moving opposite to velocity of the sound, they are taken as negative. These three are the sign conventions. Say here, first case 1. Case 1. Let us write down the formulas for apparent frequency in different situations. Case 1. Let the source is moving and observer is at rest. Source is moving and observer is at rest. Again here there are again two cases. That here this is the source and this is the observer. Observer is at rest means V naught is equal to 0. Sound velocity is always taken from source to observer. This is the sound velocity V. Suppose if the source is moving towards the observer, it is Vs. V naught 0. Vs is along the direction of V. That's why here Vs is taken as positive and V naught is equal to 0. Therefore, the general formula for apparent frequency of the sound heard by the observer n dash is equal to V minus V naught by V minus Vs into n. Here V naught 0 and Vs equal to positive. Therefore, n dash is equal to V minus 0 by V minus Vs into n. N dash is equal to V by V minus Vs into n. Remember here, source is moving towards the observer means compulsory apparent frequency should be greater than the real frequency, actual frequency. This is sub case. But in the second one, maybe let the source is moving away from the observer with a velocity Vs. Sound velocity is taken from source to observer which is V. Observer is at rest V naught equal to 0. But in this situation also, V naught equal to 0, Vs is equal to negative. Why? Vs must be opposite to velocity of sound. Vs equal to negative. Therefore, n dash is equal to V minus V naught by V minus Vs into n, or n dash is equal to V